Hey, welcome to the All Pro Dad podcast. Our kids are watching everything we do, and someday they're going to decide what to copy and what to leave behind. Today, BJ, Bobby, and I get honest about what we've taken from our own dads, what we've left behind, and what we're doing right now that our kids will either emulate or eliminate. Let's get into it. Look, our big question of the week, you guys, is what are things that I'm doing that my kids will cut or will copy?
Yeah. You guys like roast beef? Oh, gosh. You don't have to answer. I know you do. Everyone loves roast beef.
I like that transition. Yeah. Do you guys like roast beef? Great.
Here's why. What? What are you talking about?
I don't.
Okay,
I don't like roast beef.
Well, here's what. Let me tell you why I asked the question. Because when I was a kid, I was introduced to roast beef on Sundays at Grandma's house, and I love it now because Grandma made some awesome roast beef, and it was actually a really cool part of my childhood because Sundays were Grandma days. Every day, every Sunday, we'd be going over, we'd hang out, we'd have a great time. Family, nothing else got in the way of family time, and we'd have dinner together. We'd hang out, and it kind of dawned on me a couple of months ago that I kind of do the same thing now. Like my upbringing included lots of family stuff on the weekends. And now as I'm raising kids, I'm doing lots of family stuff on the weekends. And it made me think, man, I'm not exactly the same as my parents, but pretty darn close. Like we're doing a lot of similar things. And so as I was thinking through this, I thought, oh man, if I'm copying them in some ways, I bet there's a bunch of stuff that I'm not copying either. And so I started thinking that through, and I was like, man, I bet all dads do this in some way. The way we were raised, the stuff that we learned, the habits and the traditions that we formed, we probably kept a lot of it, but there were also some things that our parents did that were like, I am never going to grow up and do that. And that got me thinking, what are those things? What are the things that we've copied and what are the things that we've cut? And then I went even one step further than that. And I thought, okay, what are the things my kids are going to emulate about me? And what are the things they're going to eliminate about the way I'm parenting them? And that was a little bit more of a serious question for me as I thought through it.
Well, that's our big question of the week. What are things that our kids are going to copy from us and cut from us? What are some things that you guys have emulated from your dads?
I think my dad just wasn't very strict. Like he was pretty chill with everything. Particularly as time went on, like there were less and less consequences. Like I can't remember being punished or having any kind of consequences when I was in my teens, ever. So he was just kind of really relaxed about that. Like it made me feel a sense of freedom. Like I'm in control of my decisions and I face the consequences of my behavior. And so I think that kind of helped me, mature a little bit more. I think I was treated more like an adult, I think at probably the appropriate time when I was kind of coming into my teens, like he treated me more like an adult than he did, anything else. But also he's spent a lot of time with me. Like we played golf together. We played chess together. He would come to all my games. And my mom, the same thing. Like she would hang out with us and talk with us. There was never this kind of separation, kids, parents. It was just, together.
I think with my dad, something that I still appreciate to this day is the safety and the rock that he is for everybody. My kids know, I know, if you need something, it doesn't matter where you are, what's happening. My dad's going to stop and do it. And he's a hardworking farmer. He works all the time. He just turned 81 years old and he moves like he's 12. But if you call him, he's going to be there. And oddly enough, even though I'm wired so differently than him, I feel like I've tried to do the same with my kids. ADHD has actually helped that because people with ADHD were actually really good in emergencies because our brains are always thinking we're in an emergency. So when it happens, you're like, yeah, this tracks. But they call me and then they know I'm going to come. So I so love that about my dad. And the older I get, the more it matters, especially during times where I was shaky and didn't know what's going on, even financially. I thought he's not going to let me fall. Right. What is something that you guys have maybe eliminated from your dad?
I think my dad, like one of the things my dad did is around dinner time, he would disappear up into his room. So he would never eat with us, which, felt a little weird. I mean, it was understandable. He was He was getting up at 5 a.m. We lived in Connecticut. He was getting up at 5 a.m. to go into New York to work.
Wow.
And then he would get back at like 7 o'clock at night.
So how long a trip is from Connecticut to New York?
It'd be, an hour and a half.
An hour and a half both ways. So 3 hours a day.
Yeah, like he was driving, when you hit traffic, that's how much.
So why you got harsh on the man? Wanting a little alone time, a little dinner.
Well, it continued. I mean, we moved to Philadelphia, and it was a different schedule, and he would still grab his food and go upstairs. I think it was one of those habits that kind of got into. And so he would just kind of disappear at mealtime, and that's kind of an important thing, I think, for me.
And now you don't do that.
I don't do that. Yeah. No, I eat with my kids. He also would rarely ever like sit and watch TV with us. Like he would never go to the movies with us. And those are things that I do with my kids all the time. And then he had this weird tradition that oddly enough, I kind of found depressing, but everybody got a kick out of it. Sunday was robe day for him. So he called it robe day. He would like spend the entire day in bed and never get out. He would come down, he would get breakfast, go right back upstairs. He'd get lunch, go right back upstairs. The entire day, he would never get out of his robe. And it would be, and he just called it, he's like, it's day of rest. And so that's what he would do, which, all right, I get it. But to me, it's like, okay, we're not going to see you. You're going to be in your robe all day.
So you've eliminated robes from your wardrobe.
I don't have a robe. I wish I had a robe, but yeah, robe day. That was kind of his tradition. It's not like it was this terrible thing, but it was to me. I don't want to continue that on.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's an interesting question for me because I have two dads. I have a biological dad and I have a stepdad. And if you're talking about stuff to eliminate, it's real easy to pick for my biological dad because he just wasn't there. And that was, super difficult. I think I was 5 years old when he walked out of our family's life. And so, I had two younger siblings. My mom was a single mom at 26 years old. Super hard. So the eliminate part of that relationship is I learned by the time I was in first grade that I was not going to get divorced. Mm-hmm. I eliminated the possibility of breaking my family apart when I was like a child because I understood the difficulty of all the stuff that came with not having one of the two parents that you wanted in your home. And it's, it's different than if your parent passes away probably, but this was a deliberate choice to leave. And so I eliminated that option from my life very early on. But if you're asking me to eliminate something from my stepdad, the person that we call dad, because he kind of swooped in and kind of saved our family from who knows what, the statistics aren't great for, kids who don't have a father figure. He swooped in and really kind of made a big difference for us. I find it hard to pick out something to eliminate because I have such immense gratitude and such, thanks for him kind of steering us back towards straight and healthy. So it's hard to find something. I'm sure if I was going to get nitpicky and say, I didn't like the way he made us mow the lawn or whatever, that sort of stuff, I could probably find something, but that pales in comparison to the gratitude that I have. So, easy to answer for one dad, not easy to answer for another.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, thanks for sharing that. And, number one, I'm sorry that happened. And I'm so grateful that you had a man step in that you can depend on, who's there, and that you're completely grateful for. In the middle of all of that, I couldn't help but kind of think of those dads out there who never envisioned themselves being divorced, didn't want to be divorced and wanted to be with their kids, and then now find themselves divorced and, maybe even kind of separated from their kids in some way. And I would just encourage you all, Bobby's story, it could have been different had your biological father stayed engaged. And so I think, do your best to just do whatever you can to stay as engaged as you can. There's hope for you and your kids. If you're a single dad out there and you're just trying hard, there's hope for your kids. So, look how you turned out. So,
thank you. No, I appreciate that. What about you, Ted? Is there something you would eliminate from your dad growing up?
Yeah, my dad was a single dad for a long time, and he was young when my mom passed. And so, a lot of gratitude there, just like you, Bobby. One of the things though he would do when he would get frustrated was he would drive away. Like he would be, man, we lived on a farm, and I just remember his truck going fast out of the driveway, and he would do that. And when I got older, I was like, I don't want to do that, because that was scary, or it was, and so I've tried not to do that with my kids, but here's what I watched happen when they were teenagers, because my reaction was so opposite of his. Like when I would get frustrated, I would move towards control. I would say a lot of words, and I thought, man, I got to slow this thing down so I don't say things that I regret. So I started leaving for a little bit. I would walk outside, or I would even drive away. And so the other day, this has been a few weeks ago. I was having a discussion with my 26-year-old, and we so disagreed about a topic. And I didn't like the way I handled it. He handled it way better than I did. And so I had to come back, I had to circle back around and went, that you deserved better from me than that. Then I am apologizing. But it's like one of those things we're talking about, what we want to eliminate and what we want to emulate. I think sometimes we end up doing what our dads did that we want to eliminate, and we don't even know we're doing it until we think about it. That's why I like this episode, because I'm thinking, I've never thought about this before.
Yeah.
And the reason we're talking about this is because we want to be better dads. So the APA says 26% of adults are estranged from their fathers. 15% feel active resentment from harsh criticism, lack of empathy, and neglecting emotional needs. So obviously we don't want to do that. And so that's why it's important to kind of think about eliminating some of these behaviors. But I as you were talking, Ted, I was reminded of just even another thing. Like my dad used to snap at me. Like he would just kind of would snap. And I'm like, I remember kind of thinking, boy, I don't want to do that. And then I find myself doing it. And so
the Philly snap.
Yeah. Like, it's just kind of like, stop it, like that kind of a thing. And I've found myself doing it. And so it's one of those things that I kind of hope my kids put a stop to.
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't think we think we have this much power with our kids. We don't think they're watching to the degree that they're watching. Why would you watch us? They feel like they're not even paying attention sometimes. And there's a study from Michigan State that says that young children copy adult actions with up to 90% accuracy. So our parenting style will have a radical impact on their parenting style. And we're going to go, stop it, and then get in the car and I'm going to drive away, those types of things. So again, this is why we're talking about this.
It creeps back in, just like you guys have all said. Like, I find myself doing stuff my dad did. I don't want that for my grandchildren who aren't even around yet.
Yeah.
And so I got to fix it today.
Yeah. Well, sobering thought is that the more things, like every time we do something good with our kids, it creates memories. And so and the more things that they do, the more things that they copy from us, the more things they emulate from us as an adult, means the more good memories that they had. The more things they eliminate that we did, then the more bad memories that they've had. So
yeah. Well, and I promise listeners, we're going to get to the good part of this, but before we do, we want to talk a little bit more about the specifics of things that we don't want our kids to one day emulate.
Stuff we might be doing that they're going to cut out. Yeah.
That's good. So what are some of those things? One of the things is acting harshly. I think sometimes we can mistake harshness for honesty. Especially while we're disciplining, we can get into that mode. One thing I'll always remember is tucking my boys in one night, and it was probably my fault because I made bedtime rowdy, and we just had it. But one night I was just exhausted; I didn't have it in me, and so I'd gone up and down the stairs 2 or 3 times of that. Hey, I need this, or hey, want this. And I walked in and I said, hey, I need you guys to just go to sleep. And it was a tone. It wasn't like, go to sleep. It was the tone. It was the harshness. I get emotional about this. And my oldest one said, Daddy. I said, what? And he goes, you're really hurting our feelings.
No.
And the fact that he advocated for his brother, like he thought if it's hurting my feelings, it's hurting his brother's feelings. It's just one of those things going, chill out, Ted. Like, what are you doing? Putting your kids to bed. I mean, you're doing, WWF, WWF. I don't think that's a thing. It's
WWE.
Well, it used to be back in the day.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was back in the
day. 80s. It was WWF,
Yeah.
but then it changed to WWE.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just acting harshly, we got to eliminate that as much as we can.
Well, good for you. I probably would have said, well, you know what? I don't like your attitude. Lay down and go to sleep.
Not the way he would said it. You wouldn't have, because it was, I was like,
not.
well played, son, because it just destroyed me. I still want to punch myself in the face.
So you might be thinking, I don't really act harshly. Well, maybe you don't think you're acting harshly, but here's a couple of ways that perhaps you are coming across as harsh to your kids. Yelling over things that don't really amount to a ton. I mean, I know for me, a lot of times I'll yell over grades and like school stuff. Like, is it the end of the world if you get a B+ instead of an A-? No, like you don't need to be harsh and yell over that sort of stuff. When I get flustered and angry because the kids are crying over something I've deemed silly, it's not silly to them. That might come across as harsh. Fighting over screen time, we all do that. We've got to find a way to stop putting distance between ourselves and our kids. And when we're harsh with them, it's a clear wedge, and we got to stop that.
That's good. Another one is being frequently absent. Dads who don't show up, it leaves a lasting mark.
Well, I mentioned that, my biological dad, left our family. And so that was clear distance. But that's not exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about you being present, but not actually present. And I do this. I caught myself doing it yesterday. I got home from work and all the kids were like, hey, Dad, how you doing? I was like, I'm going to go, change my work clothes. And I was gone for like 20 minutes. I'm sitting there in the toilet reading whatever on the phone. I'm like, this is not what I should be doing. Like, I need to go out and play with my kids. Anytime you're putting something between you and your kids, you're creating distance. And we do this all the time. It's not the most exciting thing to go watch the T-ball game on Saturday, but you choosing not to go and mow the lawn instead, your kids notice that sort of stuff. You're putting distance between you and your kids. Choosing to watch football all day long. I know, hey, I like college football, but we got to go throw the ball in the yard too, or do the Legos or whatever it is with the kids. I mean, they see that you're choosing something over them in that situation. Checking out on your phone. Like I just said, I do it all the time. We bag on BJ all the time for that darn cell phone. And I'm sorry we dragged you through the mud again. But we got to be there for our kids. It's a little ding in their heart every time you pick something over them. We got to stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I took Facebook and Instagram off my phone.
Good job.
I'm making steps, but it is that subtle. It's sort of that subtle abandonment kind of a thing. There's a little bit in there, like where we have the opportunity to be present and we're not present, and we're there physically and we're not. But so when we get distracted on our phones, or maybe we just want to check out. And there are times to check out, but or like getting drunk or that kind of thing. Like I've talked about on this podcast, my dad was a drinker, and he was very functional and he was very engaged with me. But there was a period, when I was in middle school, when it was he, like bare minimum, he just wasn't engaged like he could have been. Like I really needed him to be during that time. Very formative years in becoming a man. And I think I needed him more than he was present for. And so that's one of the things too, that, I get to, again, I'm not putting myself above him. I'm distracted by plenty of other things like phones and stuff. That's, but yeah, when we get distracted,
and we're not talking about, guys, you can never have time for yourself. Right. You can never take a break. I mean, we got a whole episode on, I don't think we called it self-care. I think we called it me time.
Me time, yeah.
But it's important. But at the same time, I mean,
Now, we believe in this concept so much. Here, throw me that hat, producer Corey. We believe in this concept so much, we actually put it on hats. Presence over perfection. Like we sell these in the All Pro Dad store because we want dads to be present and not worry so much about being perfect. We're not telling you got to be engaged and be absolutely 100% super dad every minute of every day, but you do need to be present. Don't check out so much. Plug in, be there for your kids. That's how you connect with them, and that's how they feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you and I have teased about, taking, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok off our phones. And what's been very funny is the amount of times, we've been doing it,
a week, but it is funny.
Are you still shaking? You got the shake still? Or
I'm sorry, what was that
part?
Honestly, it's not. It's an interesting thing. Like I keep going into my phone and going there where those icons used to be, and then I see they're not there, and I turn it off. It is interesting.
Another thing is we want to eliminate is adding constant pressure on our kids, and it can be well-meaning. Like we want you to be a good student. We want you to be a hard worker, but just this added pressure all the time. We got to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's, it's communicating to our kids that you are how you perform, when we do that kind of thing. And there's nothing that I think creates more distance than having a kid who is walking through a world where there's constant pressure on them to perform, that their value comes from their performance and how they are. And that's the last thing that they need from us. When we had Chap Clark on our episode, I can't remember what episode it is, but we'll put it in the show notes. He made the point of adults saying to kids something along the lines of, I love you, but I would love you a little bit more if you made that field goal. And so communicating again to our kids, you are how you perform, the last thing we want to do.
Yeah. If I'm doing this, if I'm heaping pressure on my kids in this way, I hope they eliminate it. I do not want them to do that when they become parents. I don't need you to get straight A's. I don't need you to make the team. I don't need you to do anything. I want you to achieve as a dad. I want you to perform well because I know that that's good and it's fun when you win and all that sort of stuff. But I don't need any of it. And if I'm putting pressure on them to make it even seem like I need that from you, I've made a mistake. And so I want to keep an eye out for that. So I eliminate it from my own parenting.
Okay. We've talked a lot about what we don't want to do. What are the things that we do want to do? What are some things that we hope our kids one day say, my dad did that, I want to do that as well? And I think one of the top things is we need to listen well. Mm-hmm. When we listen well, we connect well. So we just want to be good listeners.
This past weekend, I was in my room, and it's right next to the living room, and I was just laying on the bed. Again, I think I had my phone. I was like reading something or whatever. And I heard my son talking in the living room and just talking and talking and talking and talking. I'm like, who's he talking on the phone to? And finally, I just got curious, like after 10 minutes, and I walked out there, and he wasn't talking on the phone. He was talking to my wife, who is so good at asking questions that he would launch into these long kind of things about what was going on in his life. And there have been so many times that this has happened where my wife has gotten something like this started, and then I come in and just sit there like a audience member, where she's gotten this thing rolling. And then I see her asking another question and another question and another question. And then all of a sudden we've had a 3-hour conversation with our son. And that's the thing I think, one of the things I've learned from her, the most. I've learned a billion things, but so good at just sitting there and listening. Yeah.
The second thing, of course, and we've said it a bunch already, but we want to prioritize our presence. Dads who show up make memories with their kids. You can't make memories when you're not there. So just being present it's so huge.
Yeah, I work from home a couple of days a week. And so I've been able to go pick my kids up from the homeschool co-op thing that they have been doing. And I was able to get there a couple minutes early for pickup. And I kind of intercepted my youngest daughter in the hallway. And she's like, Daddy, why don't you come see my classroom? I was like, all right. So I walked down the hall, and I just kind of stood in the doorway because, none of the kids knew who I was. And I watched, and they were doing like a song, and they were doing the hand motions to it. And I just kind of sat there and watched her, and she kept peeking over her shoulder, 2 or 3 times to make sure I was still watching. And I kind of gave her the thumbs up. You're doing great. That sort of thing. It was so simple. but she talked about that for days. Like just being there mattered. And I just, an encouragement to all dads, if you have the spare 5 minutes, spend the spare 5 minutes, make yourself feel more present to them. It will pay off incredibly.
I came across a reel the other day that it was a kid who was at a school production, kind of like that, and just in the front row, and had a very serious look on his face and looking around. And the thing up top said, when he sees his parents in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden you can tell he sees, and his smile
lights up.
Overwhelming. Yeah. So.
Well, someone's got older kids. I'm telling you, I don't know a ton for sure, but I know presence for sure is one of the most important things. It's essential. And just showing up. And sometimes dads will say, well, I just don't know what to say. Sometimes I'm good. Just be present. Just be there with a big smile on your face. I
mentioned my stepdad earlier. He was very good about this. I don't remember him missing a baseball game. If he did, it was raining or something like that. Like there was some reason that he didn't show up. So I do think he did that well, and I'm trying to copy that.
I love that, because I think sometimes we'll say, oh, I can't show up because of this very important thing at work that I promise we will not remember probably in 3 or 4 days. But man, showing up, so key.
I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but my dad was he would do sales, and he had a territory that was many, many hours, like 10 hours away. And so he'd be gone 3 weeks at a time. And I would know he would be coming back. Like I was at a Friday soccer practice, and I knew he was coming back that day. But I was expecting to kind of get done with practice, go home, and then see him. I was assuming he was going to come home and he'd be exhausted and lay down. And we got a water break, and I ran over to the stands, and there he is. Just watching practice. Yeah. He had come home, and the first thing he did was get back in the car, because he had just had a 10-hour drive, and he got back in the car and came over to my practice. And so great moment.
Yeah.
I think for dads listening can be really encouraged by how you talk about your dad, because you've been very honest about him not being perfect. But when you say my dad used to be gone 3 weeks at a time, but you can still say he was present and he was there for me.
Yeah.
So dads that are listening are thinking, oh man, my job keeps me away a lot. Those types of things. You were sitting here all these years later going, my dad was present. So it's making it happen in your situation. Sometimes you can't change the situation, but you can change what's happening in the middle of it. So that's encouraging for that. Another thing I think we definitely want to do, that we want our kids to do one day, and that is to apologize.
Big deal.
Often. If our kids know how to do anything at the Lowe house, it is to apologize, because mom and dad have had to do it so much. But I think dads that apologize are going to have better relationships.
Well, that's one of the things. That's the first thing I thought of when you were like, I had to go back. My son and I had a disagreement. I didn't handle it well. I left or whatever. You walked back into the routine. But I think one of the things that changes the routine is the fact that you went back and said, I'm sorry, you deserve better from me than that. That's a massive thing. In fact, a study found that parental apologies hold the potential to safeguard the parent-adolescent relationship following parental offenses. So, that kind of thing really does a lot to mend. It's not that it puts white out on everything that happened before, but it certainly does a lot to really mend and get it back.
It does. And I think the thing that I appreciated about that whole situation is when I went back to my son, he said, well, Dad, I have to own that I did XYZ. And relationally, I was thinking, good, I'm glad you saw that. But at the same time, I thought, oh, he's owning it. And that was one of my thing with my kids. Hey, once you own it, we can move forward. Until you do, we're going to be stuck here. I just wanted them to own their behavior. I was so encouraged by that.
Can I point something out that I think is really important about that whole exchange? Is the stronger person always apologizes first. And the fact that you had enough strength to go and apologize set in motion this whole thing of then he is not doubling down or embattling himself. He feels the freedom that now he can share and see the things that he brought to the table that he needed to correct it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to swallow your pride
Great
a little
model.
bit sometimes and do it. I had to do this 2 weeks ago. Man, I was so wrong. Our youngest daughter, we went paddleboarding. It's hot. And she didn't drink any water. We told her to. She didn't eat her food that we brought. We told her to. I'm like, she's in the car. She's like, I don't feel well. I'm like, well, you should have had water. You should have had. And I even looked at her. I felt so
dummy.
bad. Well, I mean, it probably sounded like that, but I looked right at her. I can't believe I did this. I looked right at her. I said, listen, you're a big kid now. Okay. If you don't want to ignore what we tell you, fine. You're just going to feel bad. You got to start listening to us. We know what's better for you. You need to drink your water. You need to eat your food, or you're just going to feel like crap the rest of the day. 5 minutes later, she had to go to the bathroom. So we took her to the grocery store. She went to the bathroom and she's like, I don't feel well. Can you carry me? She threw up all down my back, all into my shoes in the parking lot. And I was like, oh, I probably should have listened to you when you said you didn't feel well. Good. I'm standing in the middle of the parking lot and it's just raining kid puke down my back. And I'm like, oh, idiot. I felt so bad. But what I thought was the right move was, after I hosed myself off with a water bottle in the parking lot, we got back in the car and in front of the whole family said, hey, I'm sorry. I was wrong. And I should have listened to you when you told me you weren't feeling well instead of just getting angry. And I made sure I did it in front of everybody, so that not only the daughter, who I was not very kind to, heard it, but the other kids heard it. And hopefully that kind of planted a seed in their mind.
Yeah. Well, it takes vulnerability to apologize. But again, when you do it, you model it and they start repeating what you do. And all that does is sets them up for relational success when they get older.
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about intentionality, we're not talking about that we don't correct our kids. We're going to get frustrated with our kids. I think it's just having a north of, what do we want to be? Who do we want to be? Who do we want our kids to be as dads? And I think when we're intentional about that, we're going to have a more peaceful home, and our kids are going to ultimately have a more peaceful home. This has been a longer than usual discussion, but I think this is a very important discussion. I'm glad we have it, which leads us to our pro move of the week, is to think through, what is one thing that I want to eliminate as a dad, and then be aware of it this week and see what happens. BJ and Bobby, thank you guys being part of this conversation. Hey, if this conversation has been helpful for you, could you send it to a friend? You probably know some dads who are just like you and they want to be great dads. As always, we want to say thank you for joining us. We know that you and your kids will be glad that you did.
Thanks again for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. Behind every episode is our amazing team. Producer Haley Mawat, audio and video editor Buck Buchanan, and production coordinator Corey Walliff. All Pro Dad is the fatherhood program of the nonprofit Family First. Along with our motherhood program, iMom, we exist to help you love your family well. So remember, if you have more questions than answers, then you're probably in the right place. See you next time.